Morante.
Here.
Mizan.
Here.
Morris. Here. Carnegie.
Here.
Roberts. Here. Roney.
Here.
Starlar.
Here.
Volo.
Here.
President Pietro.
Here. Could I have an introduction and a second to dispense with the reading of the minutes of January 3rd, 13th, and 21st? And place them on Devon and Margaret. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? The motion carries. Copies of committee reports to the city website. Can I have an introduction and a second to place them on file? Devon and Margaret again. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. We have a number of communications. Can I have an introduction and a second to receive the communications and place them on file? Jennifer and Margaret. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Okay, start with the resolutions that we introduced last week. The first is a resolution appointing commissioners of deeds. If no further comment, can I have a roll call vote, please?
Councilmember Belton. Aye. Jaskowitz. Aye. Morante.
Aye.
Mizan.
Aye.
Morris.
Aye.
Carnegie.
Aye.
Roberts. Roney.
Aye.
Starlar.
Aye.
Volo.
Aye.
President Pietro.
Aye.
Carried.
Next resolution supports the Harriet Tubman Underground Railroad New York Scenic Byway nomination and corridor management plan adoption. Any further conversation? In that case, roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Belton.
Aye.
Jaskowitz. Aye. Morante.
Aye.
Mizan.
Aye.
Morris.
Aye.
Carnegie.
Aye.
Roberts. Roney.
Aye.
Starlar.
Aye.
Volo.
Aye.
President Pietro.
Yes.
Carried.
Excuse me, the next resolution authorizes the budget amendment to cover 2024 payroll expenses. A roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Belton.
Aye.
Jaskowitz. Aye. Morante.
Aye.
Mizan.
Aye.
Morris. Aye. Carnegie.
Aye.
Roberts. Roney.
Aye.
Starlar.
Aye.
Volo.
Aye.
President Pietro.
Aye.
Carried.
The next resolution authorizes the budget amendment to cover the 2024 expenses of the common council. Further conversation? Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Belton.
Aye.
Jaskowitz. Aye. Morante.
Aye.
Mizan.
Aye.
Morris. Carnegie.
Aye.
Roberts. Roney.
Aye.
Starlar.
Aye.
Volo.
Aye.
President Pietro.
Aye.
Carried.
Right. The next is a budget transfer to cover the 2024 expenses of the parking bureau. Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Belton.
Aye.
Jaskowitz.
Aye.
Morante.
Aye.
Mizan.
Aye.
Morris. Carnegie.
Aye.
Roberts. Roney.
Aye.
Starlar.
Aye.
Volo.
Aye.
President Pietro.
Aye.
Carried.
The next authorizes a transfer of funds to relocate the parking violation bureau. A roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Belton.
Aye.
Jaskowitz.
Aye.
Morante.
Aye.
Mizan.
Aye.
Morris. Carnegie.
Aye.
Roberts. Roney.
Aye.
Starlar.
Aye.
Volo.
Aye.
President Pietro.
Aye.
Carried.
And the last of the previously introduced resolutions authorizes the mayor to execute a professional services consulting agreement with Parking Mobility Consultants, Inc. A roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Belton.
Aye.
Jaskowitz. Aye. Morante.
Aye.
Mizan.
Aye.
Morris. Carnegie.
Aye.
Roberts. Roney.
Aye.
Starlar.
Aye.
Volo.
Aye.
President Pietro.
Aye.
Carried.
Okay, new resolutions. The first authorizes a transfer of funds within the Public Works Department. Can I have an introduction and a second, please? Vicky and Dewan. Questions? Any questions? Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Belton.
Aye.
Jaskowitz.
Aye.
Moran.
Aye.
Mizon.
Aye.
Morris. Kernhiggin.
Aye.
Roberts. Roni.
Aye.
Sarwar.
Aye.
Vogel. President Pietro.
Aye.
Carried.
The next resolution authorizes a budget transfer to the police department. May I have an introduction and a second, please? Vicky and Dewan. Questions? Any questions or roll call vote, please?
Councilmember Belton.
Aye.
Jaskowitz.
Aye.
Moran.
Aye.
Mizon.
Aye.
Morris.
Aye.
Kernhiggin.
Aye.
Roberts. Roni.
Aye.
Sarwar.
Aye.
Vogel.
Aye.
President Pietro.
Aye.
Carried.
The next resolution, you will recall, was explained at meeting by Rob Perry. And this authorizes improvements regarding and the issuance of bonds in relation to the sewer separation project. Can I have an introduction and a second, please? Margaret and Dewan. Questions?
Is Heather on? I know that this was described to us.
Right.
I just want to make sure we're all like fully aware of what is involved in increasing this.
I can't see.
I'm here.
Hold on. Go ahead.
I'm here. Did you have a question, Margaret?
Yeah, can you just walk us through this before we vote on to make sure that we understand the implications of increasing this? Because I know
Sure.
that there's a mention of it, and my understanding of it was that there was potential for getting access to additional funds, but what kind of exposure does this leave us open to?
It doesn't really leave us open to any additional exposure. You had originally passed a bond resolution, I want to say for roughly 58 million and 37,000 in borrowing. So what this does is it increases the total project maximum cost, but it also decreases the borrowing. And what Margaret's referring to is when the original bond resolution was put together, there were still a bunch of grant applications that were outstanding, and the city did not know what we would receive. We ended up receiving, I guess you could argue, more than we sort of anticipated with the first bond resolution. So I think that one thing to understand is that this is basically 1/3 of a 3-phase, $158 million sewer separation project that the city has to undertake. So what this bond resolution does is it increases the total project amount, and it was able to do that by simply taking a couple of the projects that were slated for the phase 2 and moving them into the phase 1. So that's why the project number increases. The reason behind that increase is because this is the dollar amount that will let the city maximize getting the grants that they were awarded. So if we kept to the original amount, we would leave grant money basically sitting on the table. So this lets the city maximize the amount of grant revenue that we can ask for and get, dispersed. And it also moves a couple projects up to the first phase, which is a good thing. Again, because of the additional grant monies that were not anticipated in the original resolution, that's also why the amount to borrow actually decreased to 27. And the reality is that 27 is not going to be a long-term borrowing. That 27 is going to be 10 of that is at most going to be a short-term borrowing, because there's some, all the states and the grants, they all work differently. There is some question as to whether or not one of the grants that's worth $10 million can be rolled into the short-term financing that EFC is providing for this grant. So that's why the borrowing is at that amount. But based on the numbers that all the engineers have put together, we expect the end borrowing for this phase one to actually be 17.5, not 27.5.
John, just one other question. Heather, I know you're going through for another reason, but any of the monies coming in on these grants, or any of those monies tied to federal funding, or is it all state?
A large portion of this one is the Bipartisan Infrastructure Act, which is a federal grant. I think that was a $50 million grant. 25 was a pure grant and 25 was a 0% loan. I'm pretty sure that the other two, which are WQIP and WIA, are both just state.
And so do we have any notion right now of the impact of the freezes on federal funding on this project? And on the funding for doing this project?
I mean, literally, it changes every 4 hours. So I'm not sure how anybody is supposed to have visibility into that. They freeze things and they unfreeze them the next day. I have not heard of anything specific to infrastructure grants. It seems like it's been more specifically targeted against, the current administration's particular interests in terms of what they want to shut down. So
in the event that this were to be impacted by federal freezing of funding, let's assume that happens on the large part where there's federal funds. What would that mean for us, or is it impossible to tell?
To some extent, it's impossible to tell, because then the next question would be, would the state be able to make up any of that difference in grants? But aside from that, I don't know. Obviously the bigger risk is that we start spending the funds and then the federal government decides, nope, you're not getting those after all. And then we're in the hole for that amount of money. I honestly do not know what we or any other municipality across the United States is supposed to do about that.
Okay. At NICOM, I mentioned to you, I got the slide deck at the weekend. There was a presentation by the National League of Cities where they had gone through at that time, and as you say, it changes every few hours, but they went through at that time every executive order that they knew of that had an impact on federal funding, potentially to municipalities, specifically to that issue of projects that you may have going on now, where you are anticipating that you will be getting monies from grants that include federal money, but you're already spending it, and this is money that you're going to get to reimburse you for what you have done. So I will circulate that to the whole council, so you can see. And again, as Heather says, it changes. So this is from about 2 weeks ago, but I will circulate that to everyone.
Margaret, do you have any sense whether NICOM is tracking that do they have something themselves? I know this was the Association of Mayors, but did you get a sense from the meeting whether NICOM was going to be tracking those sort of on the fly and updating anything?
I didn't. I think that I had never met and heard of the National League of Cities before. They are tracking it actively, and her contact information is there. So they're doing it across the board. I did not get the sense that NICOM, they may be doing it, but I didn't pick up on that. But the individual from the National League seemed to be very knowledgeable.
Okay, and your sense is maybe they're tracking it on an ongoing basis, so we could use that as a reference.
Yeah, they are tracking it on an ongoing basis, and they are also, willing to take calls and emails.
Okay, great.
And I can reach out to NICOM and see if anyone there is doing any tracking within New York State.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Are we ready to go? Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Belton. Aye. Zaskaluni.
Aye.
Brian Zhang.
Aye.
Mizan.
Aye.
Morris.
Aye.
Carnahan.
Aye.
Roberts. Roney.
Aye.
Sarwar.
Aye.
Volo.
Aye.
President DiPietro.
Aye.
Carried.
The next resolution authorizes the transfer of funds within the fire department. Can I have an introduction and second, please? Margaret is Vicky. Any questions? Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Belton. Aye. Descalini.
Aye.
Morante.
Aye.
Nizam.
Aye.
Morris.
Aye.
Carnhiggin.
Aye.
Roberts.
Aye.
Rooney.
Aye.
Sarwar.
Aye.
Volo.
Aye.
President Pietro. Carried.
The next resolution authorizes the mayor to execute an agreement with Tyler Technologies for the first purpose of, purchase of certain software products and services for the police department. Can I have an introduction and second, please? Vicky and Mark. Any questions?
The monies associated with this, because I think there was, as you scroll down, total dollar amount, yes, the dollar amounts, this is from a grant that they received, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
I asked him.
Any questions? Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Belton. Aye. Descalini.
Aye.
Morante.
Aye.
Nizam.
Aye.
Morris.
Aye.
Carnhiggin.
Aye.
Roberts. Rooney.
Aye.
Sarwar.
Aye.
Volo.
Aye.
President Pietro.
Aye.
Carried.
The next resolution accepts the grant funds for the Access to Home program. Can I have an introduction and second, please? Ron and Robin. Any questions? Okay, roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Belton.
Aye.
Descalini.
Aye.
Morante.
Aye.
Nizam.
Aye.
Morris.
Aye.
Carnhiggin.
Aye.
Roberts.
Aye.
Rooney.
Aye.
Sarwar.
Aye.
Volo.
Aye.
President Pietro.
Aye.
Carried.
And this next resolution authorizes our own Logan Dutton to be the part-time administrator for this grant, this home grant. Have an introduction, Ron, and a second, Margaret. No? Any questions?
Who is this Logan Dutton you speak of?
It's right behind me.
I heard he's a terrific guy. That's,
A roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Belton. Aye. Descalini.
Aye.
Morante.
Aye.
Nizam.
Aye.
Morris.
Aye.
Carnhiggin.
Aye.
Roberts.
Aye.
Rooney.
Aye.
Sarwar.
Aye.
Volo.
Aye.
President Pietro.
Aye.
Carried.
The next resolution accepts donations for the senior center. Can I have an introduction and a second, please? Jennifer. Margaret. Any questions?
Yes, I have a question.
Sure.
So this is a lot of money, correct? And is this going to change the budget of 2025 for the seniors?
Good adjustment.
I mean,
Yes.
$80,000.
Yeah, Heather.
So what are we planning to do with this money and the seniors? And is it gonna because usually the seniors, what is the amount they have per year? 50,000 or something?
56, I think.
So now can we put it towards the budget? So
No, not the general budget, but to their budget.
yes, their budget. And so that would be minus 50.
Excuse me?
Yeah, that would, and we'll have left enough money. So, yeah, maybe
So
we'll,
it would offset our
Remain-
costs, you
Huh?
said? It would offset costs that we've already got in the budget.
that is not.
You're saying it would offset what we've already.
Yeah.
But we
On a
would
good way.
we would
Yes,
need another
absolutely.
resolution to pass the money.
Yeah, no, I understand. I was just thinking, since the seniors now don't have a commissioner, we may want to think having a director, maybe a part-time director.
Their decision. It's, it's the mayor's decision.
Okay, so,
But yeah,
but the mayor knows we got this grant, this amount of
most
money.
certainly, yes.
Okay, so,
Heather, does this 80,000 become like revenue for the senior center, correct?
Yes, so basically it will go into the senior center budget, but they cannot spend out of that donation line. They have to come and do a budget transfer resolution if they want to spend any of that. That's true for all the donation lines. You can't hit a donation expenditure line as an expense. You come and say, hey, I've got X amount in donations. I'd like to put Y of it against this equipment purchase. They would do a resolution to move that and you guys would approve it. So you will ultimately have control over how much, if any, of that $80,000 gets spent either in 2025 or in future years, because this is this is dedicated to the senior center. So anything that remains at the end of any given year gets rolled over to the next year until the funds are completely used up.
Right, thank you, that's what I thought, thank you.
And Heather, is that true for other departments, for youth and fire? So anytime a donation hits, we see another resolution that hits the donation account?
You should, yes. With the exception of FOHI, but FOHI has its own thing and they have their own expenditure lines. So actually, what you do with FOHI, which is Friends of Hudson Youth, if people don't recognize the acronym, is they will do a budget amendment at the very beginning of the year, which you've already approved for 2025, and they put it in we created an expenditure line called designated funds. They're not allowed to spend anything out of that designated funds line either. Here we'll call and say, I want 10,000 of my $50,000 that I put into designated funds moved to youth programming or meals or whatever the appropriate expenditure account is. So it does basically work the same way with FOHI.
All right, so we'll see it then as a resolution to transfer. Yeah. Correct.
The FOHI one, you won't see resolutions for because you approve a grand donation amount. FOHI is unique in this situation. You approve a resolution at the beginning of every year that says the city will accept up to X amount of dollars from FOHI. I think it's like 100 grand or something like that. That's the only thing you're going to see from FOHI. The moving between the designated funds and the other expenditure lines is something that happens between FOHI, the youth department, and my office. But for every other donation line, whether it's in the fire department or, in the senior department or in the donations line that is not FOHI, because the youth department does have some non-FOHI donations from time to time too, those you would see.
I see, okay. All right, thank you, Heather.
Okay, roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Belton. Aye. Gaspaluti.
Aye.
Moranti.
Aye.
Mizan.
Aye.
Morris.
Aye.
Fernhagen.
Aye.
Roberts. Aye. Roney.
Aye.
Sarwar.
Aye.
Volo.
Aye.
President DiPietro.
Aye.
Carried.
The next resolution authorizes the encumbrance of funds for the comprehensive plan. Can I have an introduction and second, please? One and Margaret, questions? Okay, roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Belton. Aye. Gaspaluti.
Aye.
Moranti.
Aye.
Mizan. Morris.
Aye.
Fernhagen.
Aye.
Roberts. Roney.
Aye.
Sarwar.
Aye.
Volo.
Aye.
President DiPietro.
Aye.
Carried.
Now, for the next resolution, I'm going to suggest that we table this for either a special meeting or for next month. Because while the truck committee has gone through a lot of work on this resolution, it really hasn't been out in general that long. In fact, it was only posted.
I'm sorry,
today.
can you speak up?
Excuse me?
Can you speak up a little?
Sure. So can I get a motion to table it to the next?
I object to that.
Well, that's fine.
I would like to speak. We did it- we
There's a
did-
motion on it. Anyone?
To table it?
Yeah.
Everybody's satisfied?
3 council members requested that this be on the agenda.
It is on the agenda. No?
So Tom, you're saying that we should give more time to the general public
Yes.
to understand
The
the
general public has
ramifications?
had 3 years to attend
Well,
every truck meeting.
That's not quite accurate. You haven't been talking about this for the entire 3 years. And if you have, that's a lot of time. Yeah.
I'm just wondering why the public need more time to.
Because I know that many people on Eastern Warren Street were unaware that this was coming up tonight. And I know at least one is here to talk about it. But if we don't, go ahead, Eric.
So is it that folks need more time, or are you saying that in general, people aren't aware that this is coming up for vote?
Oh,
So that is from the third ward, right? Is this,
it's Thursday.
so I was just wondering if you have any feedback, the third
Yes.
ward.
I haven't had any feedback on it.
Nobody contact with me, but can we get a lot more explanation for to go to that, like, table on this resolution?
Mhm. I'm sorry, say that again?
He's saying like, what is the explanation? Why do we need to write, why do, I guess in the public, can we know why we need to table it? Like, what do they want?
Table it.
Not,
Right,
like,
We could vote, and then if it doesn't pass, it doesn't pass.
that's true too. But, again, the reason to potentially table it is so that the public gets more, time to think about it. And, it hasn't really been circulated that well among the areas that are most, impacted.
So in your mind, what is more time? Is it like the next, like
We can have a special
February,
meeting.
like March?
Yeah, we're way too much.
So
If it is a special meeting, how soon we can get a special meeting?
Do it within a week or two.
Are we gonna make sure the second ward's represented too? Because they're gonna probably speak in favor of it. So it is,
It's not exclusive to any ward.
no, I'm just saying it to get the word out, because like Margaret said, this has been, the truck committee's been in
Yes,
existence.
I understand that,
Yeah.
Dominic, but, everybody, when they are in favor of a resolution, wants it to go through right away. And that's the situation here. But the fact is, this resolution has major impact on another part of the city.
Mhm.
When you take one truck route and say trucks can no longer go there, and all those trucks will now be moving over to the other truck route, that's a heavy impact on the
I would
secondary.
like to factually correct something you've just said, Tom.
Okay,
There is no truck route north of, per New York State DOT. There
correct.
is no
I didn't say
truck
there
route.
was.
There, you said you're taking one truck route and
Well,
removing.
yes, it was designated
Let
the
me
truck route
finish.
in 1976.
Let me finish. There is no, per New York State DOT truck manual, there is
Yes,
no
there
truck
was.
route north of the warehouse on 9G. We are not required to provide access for through truck traffic coming into Hudson from 9G or coming through Hudson to get to 9G from the eastern end of town. We are simply saying we are not required to allow through truck traffic to come through town. And that's it. That the fact that what your memorandum you're citing, which we reviewed and we updated, that was based upon a period when there was in fact, and that designated trucks going to a particular warehouse on 9G. That company is now out of business. So that's all from very long ago.
Okay,
The
but was
world
it called
has
the truck
changed
route?
since then.
Was it
Sorry?
called the truck route?
Excuse me,
Was it called the truck route?
incorrectly. That was technically not correct.
Excuse
We
me,
have gone
these
through all
these are
the different
semantics.
DOT.
There were trucks going through that route. You're saying, so
New
what,
York State DOT has definitions of truck routes.
I understand, but the route, there were trucks on that route. So, and so there is gonna be a movement of traffic.
Yeah,
What can we do between now and getting to the point that you'd like to see it move forward?
Just a little bit of time for more people to know about it and comment, public.
And just one
If
more,
you don't want it, we can move ahead right now.
just one more for the record. There will not be a movement of all traffic from the proposed
Yeah.
closure. I just want to make sure there's no misunderstanding from the public. It would only be through traffic that would use that route just to get through Hudson.
Right.
If a truck has any stops to make within the city of Hudson, they can use any road to get into Hudson per state. Just want to make sure
That's very
that is
important.
understood.
It's true, but it does mean they will most likely shift to Route 9.
They will, yeah, like, if through traffic, if we pass this resolution, through traffic would shift to.
Okay, so do you want to vote on it tonight?
yes.
So I'm torn. I'm kind of torn, right? Because all the work the truck committee did, right, in the time frame, right? But, and the other side of it is, we've done this in the past, right? to get more input, right? So I'm torn because, but I don't want this to become, another, shouting match between the second and third ward and this and that. I mean, there's been a lot of work in terms of balancing this out in terms of what it's going to look like. And I think that in one regard, what Ronnie said is to making sure that the information gets out correctly. Even if we do vote or we don't vote, that the information gets out correctly and how it's going to affect, both sides. So I'm kind of torn on what you requested. Because again, this has been worked on, for a very long time. There's been some really good progress. But on the other side of it is, I feel for the third ward, right? But again, where have some of them been? Because, this has been spoke about, for at least a year
Sure.
in terms of this happening. And the place to speak up was this truck committee, right? So they can hear everything. So, if we pass this resolution, can't the mayor veto it?
It certainly can.
Okay.
Yes,
Because that would be another
Sorry.
place, the,
Council, sir.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
The
That's
public-
enough for the public to speak.
Yeah.
right, the public hearing for the, well, this isn't a law, so that wouldn't be
Right,
here.
wouldn't be that, yeah.
But they can make phone calls for him.
Correct.
Public?
Public. Hi, my name is Jenny Putman. I actually live in the first ward on Worth Avenue. And there are several of us that have voiced concern in truck committee meetings. And we felt like we haven't really been heard or sort of like made allowances to on our end. And also, there's several of us that have tried to attend truck committee meetings in the last 6 months, and they keep getting canceled and moved. So I would actually, as a member of the public, say that the public is not as informed as it could be because we haven't even been able to attend the meetings.
Sure, many meetings were canceled.
Yeah, I've shown up to City Hall and there hasn't been a meeting when they're supposed to be on the schedule, and, I'm trying to accommodate my schedule to be as informed as I can about this with several other members that, just heard this was gonna be on tonight, but they were unable to attend.
Right, and that's what
So-
I'm responding to.
Yeah, and we've gone back and forth, a lot of the residents of Worth Avenue and other people as well about what the concessions are moving, the through truck route just onto Route 9. And it doesn't seem like, there was a lot of discussion about like what we can do to fortify Route 9. And as far as I know, none of those concerns have been addressed. So like, I'm personally in favor of extending this because I don't feel like we're informed, and I don't feel like there's a good solution for, the residents of mostly the third ward and on Worth Avenue on how this is gonna impact us. Because it seems like the studies that they did for moving the traffic weren't really statistically significant, and so I haven't been convinced and felt accommodated for it all, so.
Thank you.
Ron Kopnicki has his hand up.
Ron?
Yes, am I to understand that the special meeting will be a public hearing?
No.
Well, why should it not be?
Well, I see what you mean.
Yeah,
It could be.
if the emphasis is on getting public input, I think it should be a public hearing. And I also want to point out that this issue has been before the city for a very, very long time. And I think
Which issue, Ron, can I ask you which issue?
the issue of how to deal with trucks on city streets. This is not a new issue. It's been a very prolonged discussion. I think the time has come to make some kind of decision. Resolutions can be voted down. They can also be amended. I'd also like to point out that at this point, your motion to table has not been seconded. Thank you.
Thank you, Ron. This issue in particular has not been on the table for a long time. Yes, the truck issue has been, but this was kind of narrowed down along the way, just to be accurate about it. So what do you want to do?
I would like us to vote.
Me too.
Okay, can I have an introduction in a second? Margaret and
Ron Clark.
roll call vote.
Councilmember Belton. Aye. Doug Clutie.
Aye.
Brian Tang.
It's a tough one for me because, again, I appreciate all the time frame that's been through, and I feel for the second ward. in terms of how this is going to impact them in the first ward. So, aye.
Nissan,
Understanding.
Morris,
Aye.
Fernhagen,
Aye.
Roberts,
Like, got conflicted here. I think, we're not staying also for them.
Roni.
Aye.
Sarwar,
Aye.
Volo,
Aye.
President DiPietro.
I'll just say about that. Okay, it passes. Next on our agenda, may I have an introduction and second to pay the bills? Ron and Lonnie, any questions? Okay, roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Belton.
Aye.
Schooley. Aye. Fernhagen.
Aye.
Nissan. Morris,
Aye.
Fernhagen,
Aye.
Roberts,
Aye.
Roni.
Aye.
Sarwar,
Aye.
Volo,
Aye.
President DiPietro.
Aye. Okay. Let's go over our official business. Can I, any council members, anything they'd like to discuss?
I would.
Okay, Gary.
Generating additional revenues, obviously should be a priority. And a major driver of our economy in this city is tourism. And yet for some time now, we've not had a focus on tourism in this city. I think it is a logical place for us to be mining how we can begin to generate additional revenue. Things have gone well for us from the tourism standpoint. I think we're going to start to see more competition, and I think we're going to have to rely on the city to be putting its best foot forward, not just the county or state or other organizations. So I'd like to throw that out and get some interest, gauge some interest, and see how we can move forward with this.
Have a tourism board.
Wouldn't that be?
That'd be an idea.
And what would you suggest this tourism board actually do?
Help to generate tourism.
How does that happen?
How does that happen? You get a bunch of minds together and you begin to create focus. We don't have one now, and yet we are giving monies out for tourism activities, parades and such.
Right, events.
Events, yep. So I think that there should be some coordination here in the city that's working with the factions to help bring more people in a more sustainable way.
No, I agree in theory. I just don't understand or see how that works in practice.
Well, not having anything will not deliver anything.
Well, true. Well, it does, actually, because when you say we have nothing, we do have the regular media that writes about us all the time. So it's not like there's nothing promoting the city. There's tons of promotion of the city.
But the city isn't promoting the city.
Right.
So how would the city do that, Gary? As someone who chaired the tourism board for a year and a half, how would the
And
city,
remind them what we came up with.
yeah, how would the city go about and market the city?
I'll come back to you with their plan.
That's a great idea. We're not,
Hey, I know it didn't work the first time around. There was lots of problems with it.
Right, there were,
But that doesn't mean that the concept is bad
no, we're
and
not.
that you should ignore it. We need money.
I agree.
I mean, and now, seriously, we need money in this city, right? So, if you've got a better idea, let's hear it and let's start talking about it.
we had a board of 9 people who met every month. We workshopped over, a couple of days about the list of needs that the city needed. We did an RFP for about a dozen different consulting companies. What their job was, to market small and medium-sized businesses for tourism, like the people who do Cooperstown came, Orange County came. So they came, they presented the list of options, and that the city would spend X number of dollars to market accordingly and create, things like Cooperstown has a baseball logo and things like that to help market the city. Ultimately, it came back to the Common Council, and the Common Council voted it down.
And you had a chunk of money. Right? You had a chunk of money
There
to
was
work with, yeah.
$400,000.
So did you recommend that?
Did I recommend that, I mean,
As the president of the board, did you
I sat
recommend?
on the board and we all met together and we all agreed that this was the way forward. It was people who were, you know, the executive director of Hudson Hall and Hudson Business Coalition and Fascinating. We all sat on this board together out in Thurston. And, you know, we decided this was how to market the city. I'm not saying it can't be done. I mean, go ahead and do it. But this is what our experience has been in the past, is that the city can, there's too many factions to say how to market the city. So again, for everyone to agree on how to market the city is the biggest challenge. Not that the city should not be marketed. I mean, yes, but how are you going to do that? And who's going to do that? And then it's a lot of work to actually do that too. And this isn't just like a one-time thing. It is something that has to happen over time. So you have to have you have to have a staff, you have to have a manager staff. So it's a whole process. I mean, other communities, that's what they do. I mean, Columbia County Tourism, they have a staff. That's what they do. I mean, they get funding. But I'm not saying it's a bad idea. I mean, more power to you. But I don't know if someone wants to take it on.
Rich, do you remember how many votes went which way when failed?
Well, I voted for it. Did you?
Like, was it like a narrowly lost or was it like overwhelming? 73 years.
The public was very much opposed.
Interesting, right. Even though there was a pot of money connected. I voted for it.
I don't remember. I do.
So this is in a time when there was $400,000 set aside for
Yes.
tourism. We don't have that money.
No, we don't.
Yeah,
And
we
it
don't
was-
have that.
Not only
It's
that-
6
Hold on
years.
a second. It was, tell me if I'm wrong, Rich, but it was $85,000 for this consultant, as I recall.
The consultant, maybe.
I thought it was more like 60, but I don't know.
Okay.
In-
In that range. And that's what was voted down.
Right.
And then it was kind of shut down. Now, Gary, going back to your original proposal, I'm totally for it. It would be another ad hoc committee, and if you want to design it and tell us what your goals are. The whole idea of doing ad hoc committees has been that they're very goal specific, not just some broad committee that just kind of, meets and comes up with nothing.
I think
So-
well,
Well, it sounds like from the experienced voices, this is not a good idea.
No, I'm not saying that.
It can happen. Someone's gonna have to actually do it. So.
But aside from somebody having to do it, you also have to have the support of the representatives from the city. And if it wasn't, if the public didn't come along with it, and if the members of the council didn't support it, then that's where it just wasn't given the support.
Yeah, I sat in those meetings for every month for a year and a half, and it came to, there's no resolution. This is not like a resolution mechanism, but there was no definitive thing. And I was like, you know what, sitting in these meetings, I could have done this myself. And ultimately, that's what I did. And but someone has to manage the process. You have to make sure that, that things actually get done. Who's going to manage that for years going forward? More power to you.
I think it's important before to have a meeting with the Business Coalition and see what their opinion is, how to approach this, the whole topic. And maybe after that, if they suggest it would be a good idea, we'll start a committee.
So I think that,
I'd be interested in that.
One at a time. Great, Don.
I think that, we have to think of two things, right? What Rich is saying, that it's going to take work, right? And, we have right now 10 months on our term, right? So how much commitment can we do in 10 months on some of this, right? I think that with the finance committee now, with the umbrella under the events now, under the finance committee, that, maybe, something with the finance committee could maybe look into the revenue side. I don't think reinventing something at this point, but maybe it's up to you, Rich, to see, inviting the coalition to finance, say, hey, what you think kind of deal in terms of that side of it, rather than creating something that's going to take 3 or 4 meetings. I don't know. We already have an established committee with the finance committee, and we're already doing the events, through your finance committee. So I don't know, by starting something that we can't finish or can't devote the energy to be successful at this point, would be prudent with our time and other people's time.
Plus, I don't see us having and speaking of now as the chair of the finance committee, I don't see us having funds to dedicate to this resource. I mean, look at the projections. You can look at the projections, for instance, on just short-term rental income. We'd be lucky if we make those 2025, 2026 projections. We're down by, I don't know, the 60% mark. But anyway, right. I mean, it's going to take money. It's going to take a chunk of change. And, I don't see that.
Well, not necessarily. I mean, I think what Gary is saying is we have to find creative ways to promote our city, and hopefully without having to hire consultants for one more time, just doing it without it. So I really think if approaching the business coalition and then from there see if we benefit with having a committee, it would be a good idea.
Karen, have you talked to the county tourism board?
I'm in contact with them. I have a working relationship with
I
them.
figured from your.
Yeah. Well,
So-
I'll tell you a reason why. I was having a meeting on a specific issue to Hudson. I coordinated, I'm the membership director for the Columbia County Chamber of Commerce. And I was meeting with a member of the Hudson Business Coalition and the county tourism. And it was a specific issue about making Hudson more hospitable, okay, for tourists to have a wow experience. And it dawned on me that the only stakeholder that was missing was someone from Hudson City itself.
It's a good idea.
That's what I was looking up to here, is that we have to remind them we are a percentage of them, you know what I mean?
Oh, and they give plenty.
It's the Hudson?
Yeah.
In what form?
And supporting, of course, they do a lot of good work.
Okay.
They do. But they got the county, you're right. But Hudson is clearly the largest.
We're the gateway to Columbia.
That's right.
See, I would like to see more of a shared service with the county
Yes.
from someone from the, council or something to, to sell us, right? Or to see what's going on. That's where I see the value in, or, one of our supervisors, somehow getting us representation on the county level. Because what's the sense of us doing two different things, right? Let's combine that effort and put all the heads together and get that,
And Dominic, right now, and as someone else said, we're allowing somebody else, whether it's a press or whoever, to market us.
Yeah, right,
And we're leaving the county to do that.
right. That's what I'm saying. Our representation.
Yeah.
So is there, are any of the Hudson supervisors on the county tourism board?
No.
There's a committee.
I don't know if there's even a committee. I know there's a board and they're paid employees
But there is,
with a budget.
there is, within the supervisors, I believe there is, one of the committees does actually address tourism for Columbia County. They probably need a replacement on that board. So, I mean, one thing we see if we have as one of our 5
I
supervisors,
would hope so.
on that, and if not, try to get one of them to participate.
Yeah, I think that if they're paid employees, then they're under the umbrella of the county, one of those boards. So the supervisor's got to have some kind of input on, that department. So I think finding out who's on that board, whatever board that goes under in terms of the county committee level, that's the person to talk to, and especially if it's one of our supervisors. Because I think you're right. I think we should have representation on the county level. At least the minimum, that's what we should, right? Because you're right. Who sells us better than us, right? And we should have some kind of representation. And I'm surprised that it hasn't happened early.
Are you waiting for me? Okay, I just need to figure out for her.
Somebody's not on mute.
Okay, anything else?
No.
Thank you, Gary.
Motion for adjourned.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All.